Hi everyone, I'm Zoras, and this is the basic guide to Yetis. With the Fire and Ice expansion coming to BGA, you may feel a little lost.
It's like walking into another country where I don't speak the language.
So to help you staying on top of your game, here's a series of basic guides to the new factions. Not a deep dive that you get from the ultimate guides on this channel, but rather an overview of each faction's specificities and main strategies. So we'll start with the Ice factions because, I'm Canadian.
You don't know code.
Like all expansion factions, Ice faction do not have a specific color. They choose it right after being picked instead. Sounds good?
It's a trap!
The catch is they do not have natural hexes to build upon and must dig for every hexes they take. That's a huge downside. As a compensation, both Ice faction get an income for their 8th dwelling, which is not such a big deal, and have a 1 worker discount for advancing digging. The result is obviously that these factions will advance digging much more often, but also maybe less obviously, that they will want to advance shipping a lot less, for the main benefit of shipping is the ability to reach free hexes.
I'll miss the sea. But a person needs new experiences. They jar something deep inside, allowing him to grow.
Still, the digging upgrade discount is far from enough to make for the absence of free hexes. These compensations have to be looked for in the faction specificities, and we will start with Yetis. Yetis are a very high economy faction that has no natural ways of scoring, giving them an alchemist feeling. I personally think that once you get them, they are super fun to play. Their most defining feature is that they get a 1 power discount on every power action they take, an ability which synergizes incredibly well with the ability of their stronghold, which, on top of giving 4 power by turn, allow them to take power action that are already taken as many times as they want. As a result, Yetis wants to leech more than anyone else. Usually trading posts are an inefficient building to build, but Yeti's TPs all produce 2 power, which I would say makes them as good as building dwellings for any other faction. Both their Stronghold and Sanctuary have a power value of 4 instead of 3, meaning that you will farm towns much easier. 4 towns are very in the cards for Yetis. You will also get offered very big leeches, which you will want to accept to fuel your abilities, but which will force you to sacrifice a lot of points that you will have to make up for later. Hence the Alchemist's vibe.
Please tell me. How much is enough? How big does this pile have to be?
Finally, Yetis start with their 12 power token all in bowl 2, which means they can be really dynamite in round. Thus, Yetis are an extremely powerful faction, but there is one problem. They are also very easy to counter. The whole table will be aware that you can do Marvel with Leech, so they will deny it to you as often as they can, often leading to Leech starving tactics that are always bad and are lethal against Yetis.
You have no power here, Gandalf the Grey.
Worst, player often will stay in the autopilot of not giving lead to Yetis, even when Yetis obviously are having a bad game. That can be very frustrating. Hence the Yetis logo. Yeti can be a very hard faction to play if you are the table favorite. However, they can be a great pick as the underdog when people will be less reluctant to feed you. As for the track, Yetis has a high econ digging faction like big scoring events late, such as Spade Round 4, late towns, and late trading post. Yetis also tend to build up and out, meaning they like early big buildings events, and are pretty good at exploiting late dwellings events. Also, Yeti's stronghold allow them to send tons of priests early to the contract, so they will like very much the temple event early in the game to make the most of its cult income. As you see, a lot is good with Yetis. Avoid late templed and big buildings events, and you shall be able to build a fine strategy. Yetis like a lot of scoring bonus tiles in the game, especially the big building. Although they are not early shippers, they may still like the past ship because it gives them precious power and a way to score later. Finally, any bonus with power on it has a little more value for them than anyone else. As for the extra scoring tracks, Yetis can compete on pretty much any of them, although they will like to build many towns and thus I will tend to avoid clusters. So in this section we will do more of a conclusion on Yetis, looking at their main strategy and opening. Yetis is a faction which is all about getting power and converting it to points. It means that you will want to find locations where you can get a bunch of leech early on, which is quite obvious, but also that you may want to play on cults quite a lot, which maybe is less obvious. And the reason for that is that cult will actually be a source of power as you climb on the tracks.
Behold, the power of God.
For this very reason, Yeti is gonna be one of those factions who try to rush into Keytown, which they often can do fast thanks to their 4 power worth stronghold. Yeti's second choice in town will often be the 8 power towns, because they get much more out of it than any other faction. In terms of favorite tiles, since I said Yetis are like alchemists, great economy but may have difficulty to score, you may think that opening with a temple for Earth 1 is important, and I'm sure many will have a hard time resisting that temptation.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it. I 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 need it!
However, going for Air 2 will get you much more value than any other faction, and Yeti's Stronghold is extremely powerful, making both valid options. Sometimes you may even succeed to build both Stronghold and Temple for Air 2 in round 1. Another interesting strategy is to build a stronghold and then do a priest rush to the cult track by using your stronghold ability to get priests at very cheap cost, and taking many tree spots, getting immediate power back and preparing for the cult reward later in the game and cult scoring. That can be an extremely powerful strategy provided that you get the leech to fuel it. Alright, on this note I will conclude this video. I hope you're as pumped as I am to play Yetis. They are a ton of fun. I am Zoras, and have a good one.